Hello, Sandeep. Are you there?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I see your connection is pretty stable. What's going on?
No, it was like before, like 5-10 minutes before ago. It was like flickery, like I was getting kicked out of the VMR. So
Okay.
now it seems like pretty okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're just waiting for two more participants, and then we should be okay to go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks, Brian.
And
Hey, John, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you now.
Okay, thank you. So we're just setting up the class. Give us a couple of minutes and we can get
Sure,
started.
that's fine.
okay.
Thank you.
Taylor? Good morning, everyone. It's Long.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
Oh, you look great, nice and bright. I'm just getting the class set up for this right now, so we're just going to take a few minutes to get things set up. But I'm going to leave the microphone so I'm just going to set them up for the kind of class plan at the moment. And if you hear anything that rubs you the wrong way, just let us know, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. So this is how it's going to go. Now, you can see right now in the bottom Daniel Seabees in Budapest Business School in Hungary. He's going to be joined in a moment by Senator in Hungary. Dan asked me a question via email yesterday. He said, and has a lot to say, and he will say it, believe me. So I thought about this. I posted a class plan, and then I realized this morning that actually I think I'm going to have to throw that class plan sort of out. Not completely. Not completely, John, I promise, okay? Just a little bit. In the sense that this is always a class for you guys, the students. It's not about me in the end, although he's the featured guest. It's ultimately about you. So I'm going to throw the class open very quickly to you. And what I'd like to do is I would like to pick up where, is Jordan Rushton here? Jordan? Excellent. Abhinav is here. Is Corey here? Corey Palmer? Excellent. These three gentlemen, you can see Abhinav here. Jordan Rushton is just, we can pan the camera, but he's sort of in the corner. And Corey, they've already posted comments today on the forum page about this class, which is...
I deleted mine because I didn't think good enough.
Oh, he deleted it. It was good enough. Okay, good. So that's okay. That's okay.
I have it here.
Excellent. If a student posts something in advance of the class, that is gold to me because it means the students are actually motivated. Bandini and I know as instructors, the hardest thing is to get you guys to give a damn about being in college. Like, it's really hard. Yeah. So the fact that Abhinav, Corey, and Jordan already posted means, if you don't mind, the three of you, I'd like to go to you guys quickly to tell us what you said, and then
I've lost the voice.
oh, sorry. Yeah. John, the three students who are going to kick off the class had given comments on the Global Class Forum page about the American dream and what they think the American dream represents, essentially. So that's where we're going to start. And then from there, we're going to explore the idea of what is happening to the American dream, what is the American dream, what has the American dream been, and how might it be changing now that we have a kind of historical situation in the United States. President nobody ever expected would be elected. And this is sending all sorts of ripples through the world. So, John, is that okay that we sort of start with what the American dream is, and then, at any time, you can jump in and give a little talk about this, but I'd like to... Is that okay?
Yeah, fine with me. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Okay. Daniel, I'm sure you're fine with that too, right?
I had to run out for a moment, so I have no idea what you've been talking about, but you've got all my trust, so yeah, just go ahead.
Great. Excellent. Okay, the microphone's working. Terrific. And in terms of camera level, I think it's okay. If you could bring the... Oh, you're frozen. Can you hear us? Okay, we may, sometimes they may get frozen, but they'll come back. Anyways, okay, so Bandini, is there anything, we can take a seat, and is there anything you want to say as well? We're going to take another few minutes to just get, and we'll be good. Any questions at all about this learning event? Up here, so that is the live chat on the live stream, so there may be comments coming in from other countries. There's a group possibly watching in mainland China, one of our partners there. There may be a small group in Lusaka, Zambia, watching. John, we originally were going to have our group from Nigeria joining us. We had a problem. They couldn't participate, so we have Budapest Business School as the main participants, okay?
Okay, thank you.
And the way the layout will be configured on the screen is there will be two groups of participants, Durham College, Budapest Business School, of course you, and then in one square on the screen there will be class notes, live class notes that are being taken by a student here, so you'll be able to track, and we'll be able to track some of the key things that are being said. Okay?
He's taking me out.
You must have some kind of question.
Oh, yeah, I always have.
Okay. Pretty good.
Yeah, you guys are pretty vocal in class. You have a lot to say about this
Okay,
topic.
well, don't worry about it. What's happening in Budapest?
They will join.
Okay, zoom in. So what we'll do in about 3 minutes, we'll just start. And if Budapest is still having a little trouble, we'll just continue, and they will join us eventually. Sometimes they have a bit of a small issue, but we have technical testing, a lot of technical testing to solve these things. Okay, so let me grab a seat and get my little, where's that globe? Yeah, here we are. Like that. Good. I'd like to pass that around. Great. So we have good stuff. So what we will do is, I'll start with a little introduction. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to set the conversation in sort of the big picture for a couple of minutes in terms of talking about kind of humanity and planet Earth and the world as a whole, trying to kind of frame this in the context of this is about the planet that we're talking about. It's not just about the United States. And then I'm going to throw it open to Abby or Corey or Jordan, and we're just going to just surf this wave until it crashes. Should crash. Yeah, that's right. 7. 4, please.
Are we listening to this guy?
He's going to talk, but we're going to talk first.
Did any of you happen to read
He doesn't talk first.
any of the resources on the class page that were posted? Okay. I sent a note out to a lot of people last night about this. It was a bit late, so John and I will fill you in as we have the discussion about 2 excellent articles he sent from the Atlantic magazine about, one is called well, John, what's the title of the first one about the U.S. presidency? Is this the end of the U.S. presidency? How Trump is ending the U.S. presidency?
Yeah, the end of the American era.
Yeah, okay. So he sent a really interesting piece about that possibly this moment in history is a culmination of problems that have been happening that could indicate the end of the American era.
And will Donald Trump destroy the Americans?
And will Donald Trump destroy the U.S. presidency, bring down the institutions? We're talking about historic stuff here, and John can address this. Okay, are we good? Are you guys in Budapest all with us? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Fabulous. Way to go, Sandeep. Thank you. Okay, so he gets us connected. John's with us. Is it Taylor? No, Caleb is already on it. I think we can start. Okay, yeah? You good? Okay, so here we go. Welcome, everyone, to another global in which we try to understand how we can all live together on planet Earth at a time when humanity is coming together like never before. And yet we have a lot of problems and challenges as a global
Hey, Lon, we're
civilization.
hearing a lot of background noise, and we have no idea what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Mike's right here.
Oh, it could be just a second. Thanks, Daniel. That's all right. I'm going to bring this over here.
Mine?
Can I just put this? Sure. Okay, so now can you hear clearly without any background noise?
Yeah,
Daniel?
it's much better. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So let's do take 2 on. We don't want to be. Yeah, good. You're doing it. Welcome everyone to another global class. Welcome to the live stream viewers, and of course, welcome to our guest in Houston, Texas, John Hofmeister, students at the Budapest Business School in Hungary, and students here at Durham College in Oshawa, and my colleague Bandine Sethi is joining us with her students. We are going to explore a really big question right now. and that is how is the presidency of Donald J. Trump changing the American dream? And this is something that probably all of us on this planet need to think about because of the power that the United States has had in a global civilization for a long time. And what we're going to do today is we're going to try and answer that question with a very prominent guest that we're privileged to have join us from Houston, Texas, John Hofmeister, former president of Shell Oil in the United States, one of the largest companies in the United States, and its parent company is one of the largest on the planet. So he's well positioned to give us an insider's view, but also kind of an outsider's view, because he has kind of left that world of big oil and decided that we need to move in a different direction. I think you're going to find him quite interesting in what he has to say about these questions. Not at all what you might imagine. We have a group from Budapest Business School. Daniel Seabees coordinating that with some students there, and of course the Director of International Relations, Tomasz Novak. Hi, Tomasz is in the pack. Nice to see you. And actually, Tomasz is going to be giving a class on the global economy in November from Budapest. What I'd like to do just for the first minute or two is just sort of frame this discussion in terms of the big picture. And then immediately I'd like to give the class over to the students to begin engaging with our guest and, of course, with each other. So is that okay, Bandy?
Yeah,
anything you
great.
want to add, or you're okay? Of course, at the beginning of a global class, it's always a little strange. Everyone's meeting each other for the first time, and the ice needs to get broken a little bit. But that's okay. I'll try and break it, but it may take a little time, so don't worry about that. In terms of the big picture, what we're looking at is a planet right now. This is something that we all know that we live on. 20th century was a time when science and technology took us to a place that we never thought we would go. Human beings left planet Earth and began to see the planet as whole. That happened. We now know that we all live on this planet. Nobody can deny that this is it. This is the big picture. The interesting thing about the planet is we have a thing called human civilization, or global civilization, in which all peoples on Earth are now connected and interdependent. And who is wearing the ring? Who's the Frodo, on this planet right now? In a way, it has been the United States. For the Lord of the Rings nerds here, like myself, you might know what I mean by a ring. The United States has worn that ring, but may not be able to wear it anymore. There are some problems, some deep problems in the United States that John Hofmeister can address. And I'm just going to mention one thing before we throw this open to Abby and others about what does the American dream represent. And that is, not only is it a historical time in the United States with a president elected whom nobody expected would be elected and who's shaking things up like never before. We had a mass shooting in Las Vegas, the kind of beacon of money. And if the United States has represented anything often, it has been a place where you can get rich. And it's interesting that in Las Vegas, where you can get rich fast, somebody took a whole bunch of weapons to the 32nd floor of a big hotel and just blasted away with a semi-automatic and killed 59 people.
59 and 5.
I think they report 58.
58. And I don't know, hundreds injured and in the hospital. It was the worst mass shooting in American history. 1,516 last 735 days. It's a fact. No BS. So there are problems in the United States about freedom, liberty, and then corruption. And I think John is really in a unique position to address this. So that's the big picture. We're going to look at the United States, its power, and whether it will remain the great power of global civilization going forwards. So there you go. Is there anything, John, you want to add before we throw it to the students and get their comments and questions and go to Hungary as well?
No, it's good. I'm flexible.
You're flexible? Excellent. Thank you. Bandini, is there anything?
No, I think we should
You're okay?
to the students.
Okay, so the big question then is, like, what is the American dream exactly? Before we just start to try to understand what's happening to the American dream. And already there's a student who hasn't even entered a forum comment, so let's do it. Let's go over here. What's your name?
Brad.
Brad, do you want to tell us what you think the American dream is?
To my understanding, the American dream is to come from nothing and then turn it around and become huge.
Can the mic go closer?
Sure, we'll pass. Where's the student mic? Just move it over. Sure, John. You can put it right on his side. Yeah. You've got the student mic? Great. Go ahead. Go ahead.
To my understanding, the American dream is start it with nothing and then change it, work hard, and make lots in return.
Did you catch that, John?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's one definition. Great, Brad. We'll take a few before we get going, all right? In Hungary, in Budapest, does anyone want to attempt to define what is the American dream? Go ahead, Daniel. You will always jump in. Thomas, go. Sure.
We have several students from different countries, including South Africa, Russia, and Kazakhstan, so maybe they have completely different perspectives of that. From Hungarian perspective, I think that the United States has always been something attractive, especially for the younger generation, and it has been confirmed by the historical experiences, because at the beginning of the 20th century, more than 1 million Hungarians left Hungary and went to the United States, near to Cleveland and New York City. So they have settled there, and they did a great job. And also they earned a lot of money, at least compared to the Hungarian one. So from a Hungarian perspective, I think that by getting opportunities and getting some more money than that in Hungary, probably this is the American dream, at least in my perspective and experience. But maybe our students have different perspective on. If you want to add something.
Hi. Thank you, Thomas. Go ahead.
The only thing I'll add is our basic sexiness appeal to it. And, you know, the whole materialistic, to say that your life is a success in essence because you've sort of reached the materialistic aims. Because for the most part, most people would think success in life or a meaningful life and you know, the sort of the American dream is about getting there as a means to achieving meaning in life.
Can I do, is that sexiness or both? Both.
Both. Yes, the sexy appeal and then the success and the meaning in life to get that materialistic gain.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Sure, go ahead, Daniel. Or anybody else before we come back?
The idea of being able to dream something up. Like the American dream is the, you know, it's the fundamental individual dream where you dream something up and you make it happen. You create an opportunity for yourself. You know, you grab life with both hands and just get the absolute most out of it. To me, that's what the American dream is.
Excellent. Thank you, Budapest. And the connection's terrific there today. The new room and everything, Tomasz, Daniel, Corinna, it's really good. Okay, let's keep going. You know, the American, because we're building here. We're going to be looking at, so what's happening to this historical perspective as well. Abhinav?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take the mic there and okay, go ahead.
I just want to say I enjoyed your talk at TAMIST this year in January, so I just wanted to put that out there. And I'm really happy that you're a political science graduate because I plan to do the same thing. So just wanted to establish that. Yeah. My principal point is, I think American Dream represents getting from the only thing stopping you from getting from point A to point B, whether that's power, is your own effort, right? The American Dream represents the land of equal opportunity, no matter what. So the only thing stopping you from getting from one point to another point, whether it's power or money, is your own effort. So I think that's what.
Let's keep going. A few more definitions, and then it would be great if you can begin to try and help us to understand what you think the American Dream is. And then we're going to gradually move the class and build the class towards trying to figure out what has happened to the American Dream, and then what does the future hold for things now that they appear to be changing. Okay? So let's keep going then. So we had Brad, Abhinav, Alex over here. Yes. Do you want to just hand the mic? Just be careful with it. Great. So Alex is now going to. We'll try to move the camera over, but we'll see.
Is this okay?
Yeah. Go ahead. Just make sure you can put it on your knees so it doesn't crash. Excellent. Go ahead, Alex.
So to me, the American Dream has always been happiness, pretty much. They're supposed to be the land of the free, and pretty much to me that means you can be whatever you want, whenever you want, as long as you have the effort to put it into work, right? So that is the definition to me. You can be what you want as long as you're willing to work towards that end. That's it.
Good. Anything you want to add in terms of the idea of freedom?
Well, freedom is a sticky term over there to me. Like what their definition of freedom isn't necessarily the true definition of freedom. But that's a whole other can of worms.
Freedom's a huge issue. And remember, Statue of Liberty in New York, holding out the torch, and then just near there, 2 towers crumbling down on September the 11th.
Exactly.
So, it's a big thing.
It is. It's very big. But freedom, like to some people, would be the freedom to say whatever they want and do whatever they want, which could constrict other people's freedom.
Yep.
So where it is the land of the free, some people's freedom is restricting others. So you do have to watch kind of what you do in that respect.
Okay, great. So freedom. Let's get one more definition before we give, Corey, since you wrote something on the forum page, you can even stand and hold the microphone. You can hold it? Yeah? Okay. Great. Go ahead.
So I feel the concept of the American Dream is a lot bigger than the United States itself. You can feel its ripple throughout the whole world. And what I truly feel what the American Dream is, to me at least, is similar to what she said, being happy and very satisfied and fulfilled with your life and where you are in either a financial standpoint or just, you don't even have to be rich, just being satisfied with your life, pretty much.
Sure. Personal fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right. Got it. Okay. Finally, before we go to John, Budapest, anything you want to add to this before we get to John?
Yes, just before we carry on, I just wanted to provide an alternate definition from a more ideological standpoint. I think the American Dream is a brilliant sort of marketing tool and, for capitalism. And I think it does a good job to conceal the exploitation that really happens around the world by keeping people hopeful, especially the working class, that, if they carry on working hard, they will achieve, their hopes and dreams, which in reality never really happens, and the exploitation just keeps going and going and going. So I think it's a brilliant sort of deceptive sort of marketing tool for capitalism.
Lovely.
May I add something? May I add something? Because
Thomas, go ahead. Yeah.
This was a remarkable comment on that, but I would like to add another perspective taken from my own experiences, or rather, it's better to say taken from my children's experiences, because we spent a year in the U.S. and my children went to the school, the primary school and the middle school, and they were very much afraid of that because they did not speak any words in English when they entered the school. And when we returned from the US, they said that we want to go back to that school because that school was much better than our schools in Hungary because it provided opportunities for them. So even if they did not speak at all, they had the chance to learn and to become equal to the other students coming from very different parts of the world. So that was something new for them. So the American dream for them is to access to equal opportunities in the school. Maybe this was not right, or maybe they did not realize every aspect of the American life, but at least their experiences were absolutely positive compared to their local experiences. So for them, the American dream still exists.
Thank you, Tom. I'm going to stop enough for a second so we give John a chance to comment. John, just take a look at one thing before you start. The note that Caleb has put up when he said it's good because there's a good chance to learn and become equal. You have opportunities, and Thomas just mentioned that. So just keep an eye on the notes because there's some interesting keynotes popping up. But John, please go ahead and really feel free to speak to any issue you want, but most importantly, your definition of the American dream.
Well, let me start with just saying how delighted I am to be here and to join you in a conversation about everything from the American dream to where is the country headed. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a privilege, actually. But coming back to the American dream, I'm very impressed with the definitions you've all provided because you're also correct. You're also right from where I sit. To me, it starts with this notion of the individual. In the American context, the individual is everything. And that is manifest in so many ways across our society and our history, where the individual, and then add to that freedom, the individual has the freedom to choose to do whatever he or she chooses to do, and depending upon how much they're willing to put into what they do, they have every right and should have every opportunity to pursue their dreams, their ambitions, their goals to the maximum extent that they choose. And that the barriers of society should not be in the way of the individual's achievement of his or her dream. And it's pointed out so many times in so many different ways how people from really no particular famous background, not some sort of a privileged rich, but anybody from any walk of life should be able to, can, and has achieved whatever they want to achieve. It may be wealth, it may be power, it may be prestige or reputation, it may be celebrity status, it may be academic professionalism, it could be anything. It could be craftsmanship like a carpenter or an electrician or a plumber who are really good at the skilled trade that they have acquired. It's not defined by class. It's not defined by race. Racism can be a barrier. And the U.S., like many countries around the world, has and still has issues with race, unfortunately. And so race can be a barrier, but it's not supposed to be, which is why we have incredibly wealthy, incredibly famous people from all races in this country, because they have either had the barriers removed or they've overcome the barriers because of their determination and their desire. And so we're a messy society in many respects. I think that reflects our diversity as a society. And that diversity ranges from right-wing to left-wing political ideology. It also includes race and ethnicity. It also includes the fact that we are a country made of people who came from other parts of the world. The Aboriginal base of our country is really quite small, and it's in the single-digit percentage of the heritage to the Aboriginal Americans who were here when the Europeans arrived. And so it's something that every child is taught in this country, and if they're not, then something's wrong, because it so permeates everything that we do. And whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whether you're a man or a woman, everyone has the right to pursue their path to ultimate desire of whatever it is they want to be or become. So that's kind of a broad definition. And I didn't hear anything that anyone said that I would disagree with. And I think Americans love the fact that people around the world know about the American dream, because deep down, Americans hope for the same for every person in the world. And if you go back to the communist era, there was sadness. The collectivism of communism prevented the individualism, and that individualism never got expressed in so many different ways.
Stop for a second, because you're putting your finger on an interesting raw nerve here, and I love raw nerves because that gets everybody listening. And so here's a raw nerve. In Hungary, they've known communism. A lot of students would know this, but I'm just curious if in Hungary and Budapest, any of you would like to speak to the fact of this sadness or darkness that John has touched on when freedom is restricted by the big authoritarian state that wants the Soviet Union. And you guys know it well. You want to speak to that, Daniel? Tomasz?
Do you guys want to get us killed? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't know how much you can say at this point, Daniel, but I know it's a raw nerve, but let's see if we can go there.
Well, we've been free to speak because we are underground, but, more to the point, it's, for us in our 20s, I think it's rather difficult to speak to the authoritarian state that you speak of that once reigned over things, especially in Europe. But I mean, obviously there are remnants, and there are always things to complain about. But like in such broad terms, it really just feels like complaining rather than specifically touching on an issue. So that's really just my two cents.
Okay, I'm old enough to make some points here, I think. So we can have, I think, a political and an economic perspective on that. So the first is the political one, which exactly means that there were no freedom of speech, no freedom of anything, in fact. So if you were against the ruling party or the system, then you simply did not have any opportunity or any chance to get a good job, a good salary, or anything. It was also impossible to travel abroad freely. Just imagine that there were tests only once in every 3 years. So it was a very strict administrative barrier to travel to the so-called liberal world or free world. So that meant, in practice, the communist rule at that time. And from an economic perspective, it meant that there was no market between the suppliers, the producers, and the consumers. There was a centrally planned system, which meant that the state ordered the volume and the nature of the production. Oops.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was no freedom of enterprise, no free market at all. And also it was impossible to import products freely from diverse countries. So if you want to check what did it mean in terms of quality, for example, just go to the internet and Google the name of old-fashioned cars like Trabant and Wartburg and Moskvich and Lada. So these were the flagship products of the Soviet Empire and the Soviet-ruled countries like East Germany or the Soviet Union. Just check these cars. The Trabant was made of plastic, in fact, so it was not a very good quality, and it was not very secure against any accidents. So to put in practical terms, it meant that there were no freedom of speech, no freedom of travel, no freedom of buying products independently from the origin. So it meant this. So compared to this situation, of course, US was a dream for many Hungarians and many other people from different countries in the area of the former Soviet Union. So just compare these to your experiences. When there was a market, you could buy anything depending on your wealth and on your income. Even if Hungary you earned a lot of money, it was very, very difficult to get the necessary services or the desired products and services. because of the administrative regulation and the administrative barriers to do that.
Sure. Oh yeah, go ahead, please. Okay. Yeah. Please give us your name, if you can. Just give us your name.
Hi, I'm from Kazakhstan, but I still don't agree with some opinions. Why? Because in those times, even in the Soviet Union, people learned to be how to get disciplined and how to. Of course, there was no freedom of ideas, no free market, no like buying and selling. Kind of decision process from the economic perspective view, but anyways, people from Soviet Union learned to be, how to say, more disciplined, started to be more economical, and even in that time, the economy was growing. But of course, at the end, it collapsed. Anyways, I'm not going to tell that because of my region, I'm like how to say, I'm supporting. But I'm not supporting from just, it's my point of view that anyways, it was from the other hand, good point, like being part of the Soviet Union. I mean, of course, it's better in the Western part of the advantages that we have to also highlight. Thank you.
Sure. And what's your name? Sorry? What's your name? Nama? Dana. Okay. These comments are moving into the second part of the class, which is, you know, what's happening to the American dream today. But is there anything you'd like to add? And if there are any comments here, get ready. We'll be able to keep coming back. But please, John, go ahead.
Well, I say the same thing. We're not. The incredible view and the fact that we had